We all know you can't smoke in office buildings and restaurants and arenas, ditto for movie theaters and cafes and even outdoor patios in certain jurisdictions. And of course, there's no smoking on planes, trains, and automobiles. You think I might have screwed up referencing that classic John Candy, Steve Martin flick, did you? For while there's certainly no smoking allowed on planes and trains, automobiles are a different story. Well, sorry friends, I regret to inform you that the Nanny state has goose-stepped its way into that final frontier of safe smoking spaces, namely the personal automobile. Consider an astonishing National Post story that chronicled the absolutely bizarre case of Harry Kramer. Kramer, 76, lives in London, Ontario. He's the owner of a cleaning service, and from time to time he likes to light up a cigarette, often doing so ensconced in his swank Porsche SUV. But last fall, London smoking police ticketed Mr. Kramer for doing just that, smoking in his own vehicle. And no, there were no children in the Porsche, just Kramer. Here's the skinny. Kramer visited a Tim Hortons and purchased a coffee and a donut. He then drove to a nearby parking lot to drink his double-double and consume his cruller and light up a cigarette. That's when a bylaw enforcement officer approached Kramer, presenting him with three tickets, namely smoking in an enclosed workplace, failing to have a no smoking sign in his SUV, and failing to properly supervise a workplace. Each ticket represented a whopping $350 fine. Now, if anything, the bylaw officers seem to be taking great liberty with the province's no smoking legislation. Kramer's SUV is indeed registered to his company, Sparkles Cleaning, and the argument put forward was that the SUV is a workplace vehicle. But Kramer insists that the Porsche is his personal vehicle and is only driven for personal use. Recently, Kramer prevailed in a court of law. The Justice of the Peace proclaimed there wasn't a single shred of evidence put forth that the SUV was ever used for Kramer's cleaning service, and all three charges were dismissed. Yet still the question arises, why in the world did bylaw target Kramer in his personal vehicle in the first place? The ominous answer would appear to be that London's bylaw department wanted to settle a score with Kramer and that they were acting on bogus information passed along by an anonymous informant. You see, about a year ago, an enforcement officer came to Kramer's actual place of business for a routine check. Kramer acknowledged that he sometimes smoked in his second-floor office, away from the rest of the business with the door closed, the window open, and a fan blowing. The bylaw officer promptly issued Kramer with two $350 tickets. Kramer acknowledged his guilt, but thought that receiving two tickets instead of one was overkill. He also had some nasty words for the bylaw officer. The bylaw officer didn't appreciate the salty language, allegedly responding to Kramer using that classic Terminator catchphrase.
I'll be back.
And bylaw did indeed come back by essentially stalking Kramer, waiting for the moment when he'd light up a cigarette in his SUV. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a smoker. I've never had a cigarette in my life, and based on what we know about tobacco, I really don't know why anyone would choose to smoke. But smoking is nevertheless a personal choice, and while tobacco is highly restricted, it is nevertheless a legal product for adults to consume. So in that sense, what that bylaw officer did to Kramer was essentially an abuse of regulatory authority. Yet if the smoke police really want to crack down on illegal tobacco use, then why don't they just make their way over to native reserves in Ontario? That's where they'll discover that every single rule in the Smoke-Free Ontario Act is broken on a daily basis. This is what we discovered in an investigative report when we visited a native reserve near Brantford. For starters, tobacco products are openly displayed. Smoking inside the store is allowed.
Sure.
Free samples are there for the taking.
And this one is a full flavor.
Gifts are de rigueur, as are volume discounts, but most distressing of all, minors, the very people the tobacco laws are meant to protect, are some of the biggest customers in the contraband market. We asked an 18-year-old mystery shopper to try and purchase cigarettes from stores on the reserve. As you can see, he was not challenged to produce ID, we witnessed other young people enter the store and purchase cigarettes, also without being asked for proof of age. Well, there you go, guys. Both bylaws and real laws galore in relation to tobacco are being routinely violated on native reserves, but apparently it wouldn't be politically correct for law enforcement to venture there, so our politicians hold their noses and divert their eyes. Besides, it's way easier and presumably more personally gratifying for bylaw officers to carry out vendettas against the likes of Harry Kramer, an honest tax-paying citizen just trying to enjoy a cigarette in his own personal vehicle. For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Like what you just saw? Then click subscribe below and never miss another Rebel video.